When you repeat something, you hear it over and over again. Most of the time I start suspecting if it's even true. Just because it's popular to say doesn't mean that it's correct. And one of those things, one of them I talked about in another video, talking about that eye gouges and groin shots don't hurt. I mean, don't work. Um, and if you want to see that video, you could go and look at that one. Today, I'm going to talk about, never kick with your foot, right? With your feet, or with your foot. Kick with your thigh. I think that's what was it? With your shin. I'm sorry, with your shin. Kick with your thigh. Kick with your shin, which is something that is said, especially because a lot of Muay Thai martial artists were starting to become big. I think it was around the early 2000s. Stuff like people like Henderson Silva and Muay Thai was a big thing to practice. And I've gone over it before to explaining how certain martial arts become big sometimes, but then another martial arts comes around and beats that one. But I just want to say that this is not necessarily completely correct. No matter what part of your body you're gonna throw with, you have to throw it with technique, and you have to throw it properly, or else you could get yourself hurt and or not get full range or full effectiveness of your weapons, which is your tools. Your weapons are your arms and your feet, whatever. You got to think of it this way: if you use your tools incorrectly, you're going to end up damaging that tool, and you're going to end up, not being as effective. And you've seen it a lot in MMA. The people that or certain people look up to as the epitome of a perfect fighter, or the top notch of what a true martial artist is supposed to be, or according to certain people in YouTube. But we see, another thing in mixed martial arts. We see a lot of people breaking their shins. These are the people that they say that this is how you're supposed to kick. And the thing is, so I mean, I'm just gonna look at this here. And I'm not laughing at this. I mean, of course, it's horrible. That's how these guys make their living. But what I'm trying to, first of all, I'm trying to say, it is a fallacy to say that you have to kick with your shin all the time, and you should never kick with your foot ever. If you are smart, you will kick sometimes with your foot, sometimes with your heel, sometimes with like a blade type of a kick. Sometimes, use your knees, elbows, whatever works. But just remember that if you don't do it correctly, if you don't do it properly, like I said already, you will hurt yourself. And what we're gonna go over, how to hit with your shin, and how not to. Now, one thing you're gonna see in a lot of these pictures and some of these videos that I'm going to show is that when these people kick, they do like a whipping motion, and I think it's a confusion that's going on. The whipping motion is mostly, from Taekwondo. Jeet Kune Do does it a little bit too, but Taekwondo is the corporate that brought forth, the whipping style kick. The thing about it is, when they do it with their foot, right? Which is the big no-no for a lot of people. And the reason they don't break their foots a lot, or at least from what I can tell, and then in my experience also, I've actually kicked trees with my foot properly and not injured myself. Now, if you do it improperly, even if I do it without proper technique, I will end up hurting my toe, because the toe is for some reason a lot more easier to damage than kicking with your foot. And I'm gonna go over how to kick with your foot later. Um, it's let's put it this way. It's a whipping motion involved, kind of like what these guys are doing. The only thing here is that they are doing the whipping motion, but instead of using their foot, they're using their shin, and it's a pretty much it's like using a tool improperly. And if you notice, another thing is when they're doing the whipping motion, the foot almost wraps around the opponent's shin, almost as if it was a whip. You know, if you whip something around and it kind of wraps around the whatever you're whipping, and you could actually pull it. Unfortunately, you know, we don't have whips in our legs, like actual whips, and bones break. Now I'm not trying to be funny at all. it's it's a thing that happens. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, if you could see, it's breaking from the thinner part of the tibia. In Spanish, this is called the tibia and pirone, or something like that. I speak both languages, English and Spanish, but for some reason, some words I learned in English, others in Spanish, and then it's kind of hard to translate. But notice, you know, on most of these, you know, the breaking happens in the thinner part. So that's another thing that you have to understand. You know, don't kick with that. You know, you're either gonna kick with the foot or with the sharp part of the shin. What do I mean by the sharp part of the shin? The sharp. Go ahead and you know, if you're listening to this, touch your leg, and you're going to feel a flat part. And usually the flat part is going to be turned towards, you know, your inner thigh or the inside of the leg. You know, that's where the flat part is at. This is the part you don't want to connect with, especially if you're going to connect your thinner part, which is way at the bottom, to the thicker part of your opponent's, which is close to the knee. Now go ahead and feel go all the way to the top where your knee's at, and you're gonna find that it's still sharp right there close to your knee. This is the part that you want to avoid kicking with your shins. All right, and especially never kick up. Why? Or why do I say that? It's not with your shins, at least. Why do I say that? When you kick up, you're kicking against all of the weight of your opponents. And when you kick against all of your weight of your opponents, especially if you don't put your whole body into it, like most of these guys aren't doing. You look at this picture here. He's just leg kicking. He's not using his body. He's not turning his body into it. He's leaving at the point of impact. He's leaving his leg alone to take most of the brunt of the impact, versus literally all of his opponent's weight. Let's watch a video here if we could catch it.
Watch this. He checks it.
And watch how it wraps around like that. See, it wraps around. It's similar. If you study movement the way I do, because I'm a little crazy, and you grab something like a whip, and if you don't have a whip, if you're not into I'm sorry, I was gonna make a joke, but if you're not into, you know, fetish stuff or anything like that, if you have like a whip, or if you have like a cable, you know, go ahead and swing it, and even if it has something heavy at the tip of it, that's even better. You're gonna notice how it's gonna wrap around whatever you hit. This is what the foot is doing here. It's wrapping around the leg. The problem is that, like I said, we don't have whips for legs, and we have to, even with a whip, you have to, you want to impact it. At least from what I'm not a whip expert or anything, but the impact zone is in the tip. That's what does all the damage. If you hit it from what I'm from my studies, if you hit it with the middle or somewhere towards the middle, what's going to happen, it's going to wrap around and pull the object towards you. Maybe, I don't know. But this is what's happening here. You see, it's breaking because it was used improperly. Also, the other thing you want to see here is that he's not putting his whole body into it. So his leg, like I said before, is taking all of the brunt of the weight of his opponent. And I don't know if this is Justin Poirier. I'm not sure who this is, but I know that's Silva. But check it out. And look at it, boom, right there. Now, you can't see it from this angle, but he's not sitting down on this one. And he's also connecting in the spot that I told you not to connect. It's sharp and it's thick and it's close to your knee. So if you could feel for it, it's there. Everybody has the same parts. The other thing I'm gonna say is a lot of this is also physical. A lot of this is physical. So that's another thing I wanted to talk about as well. Lanky guys, they're going to have thinner parts where you're supposed to be thin. They're going to be thinner. They're also going to have less meat on their bones around there. Less meat on your bones means less muscle on your bones. Less muscle on your bones means less of a how can I say this? You have less shock absorbance for your bones. And less shock absorbance for your bones means they break easier. That's why a lot of these Muay Thai fighters, they're shorter. And they're not all thick. Some of them are very thin, but they have, a lot of resistance. Also, it's the technique, right? The technique. Now, I personally think right here in the impact zone, the positioning was a little bit off. All his opponent had to do was just brace for the attack, and he would have been better off than Silva, because Silva is a little bit off balance. If you see most of these guys, when they connect this particular kick that breaks their bone, their tibia, if you notice, most of them, their balance is pulled back. Their upper body is pulled back. And like I said, it sounds like I'm repeating myself, but this is very important. Most of their weight isn't into their shot. The other thing is they're kicking up. I already said that. So next time you do it, kick down and kick. Try to kick where there's meat. You're gonna try to kick meaty places, not bones, because bone versus bone, the strongest will win. All right. The thing is that this guy is kicking thin part of the bone versus thick part of the bone. So imagine imagine that your foot, let's try to explain it a little bit differently. Imagine that your tibia is a bat. Right? Imagine that your tibia is a bat and the thick part of the bat is close to your knee, right? And from there, the bottom part of the bat, which is the thinner part of the bat, is connected to your ankle, and your Achilles is there and everything. Hopefully I'm painting a good picture here. Now imagine somebody grabs the bat from the thick part of the bat and he swings it towards another bat, but he swings it at the thick part. Now, obviously, what's going to happen is that the thin part of the bat is going to break from the bat I'm swinging because I'm hitting the thicker part of the bat. This is what's happening in all of these breaks. So watch this one here.
He closes a slight plus 105 betting underdog per DraftKings Sportsbook.
Funny thing is, I think this is the same guy. And here we go again, same spot. Look at it again. Right. This is another one, I think. Oh no, this is. I'm sorry. I actually skipped. This is Conor McGregor, and yeah, he broke it from the same spot too. The sad part about this one is that he was trying to be more of a kicker in this one, but this is the thing: you can't just be a kicker. you have to take responsibility for your weapons. You know, your hands are tools, your feet are tools, your legs are tools, and you have to use them responsibly, um, for your own safety, of course. If you keep this in mind, then you're going to develop the better way of fighting. Now, of course, a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, these things happen. You know, you can't think about that all the time." I think martial arts is based on thinking about these kind of stuff. The best martial arts, like boxing, think about safety first, and then they build from there. If you go to a boxing school, they'll do that. They will start with safety, how to stay safe on the outside, how to keep your hands up so that when punches come in, you know, you're able to have those hands up there to block punches you don't see coming. How to get on the inside safely and then get out safely. You know, stuff like this. How to build combos in a safe manner in order to, you know, eventually win the fight. So what I'm trying to say is, by doing this, you know, you're going to be better at striking in total and everything, even kicks and everything. Now let's study a little bit of these guys that do this, you know, often and do it better. And I think a lot of these guys are in Asia, Thailand, stuff like that. So let's. I want you to look at this guy's technique. Notice how his whole body is behind it, and he doesn't whip back his body unless it's going through. The other thing you want to notice about this is he's either kicking through or kicking through and downward. Right here, this one here is a little bit off. This technique. This. You can tell he's going a little bit slower too, maybe he's so quick. But that one there was good. The last one. Notice how the kick, it's almost like the toe ends up pointing down, and it's just going far up. So you kick that. And if you notice, some of those kicks was with the foot. The last one with the tire, that was with the foot. So. It's almost like right there, it's almost like he showed you what happens when you hit something improperly to your leg. I'm not making fun of anything. You know, you see how he's kicking, when he kicks to the leg, you notice how he kicks down almost. Look, check it out. Let's see, right. Hopefully I can catch it. You see, he's kicking down. All right, and the reason he's doing that is, like I said, go ahead and feel for your bone right there. And you notice where there's a flat part, there's also a sharp part. The sharp part is close to the outer, where the outer calf muscle is. So you got your inner, which is on the inside of your calf muscle, and then you got the outer. That there, you're going to feel where the connection is. There's a sharp part. That's the part you're trying to land with. That's why you see these guys turn their hips all the way in like this. You see that? You see how he's turning his hip all the way in? Because he wants to land with that sharp part, right? That's the part. Of course, it's going to hurt. And if you have weak skin, you might hurt your skin. Of course, if you're kicking stuff like this. If you're kicking another human, probably not. You may get like bruised or something. But some people have thicker skin than others. Regardless, the point is, if you rely too much on strength versus strength, you're going to end up hurting yourself, because you're going to end up fighting someone who has stronger bones than you or thicker skin than you. So yeah. There you go. That's what I wanted to do right there. So notice how right there he's actually kicking with his foot. But notice how he's kicking down. His whole body is into the shot. All right. And he's kicking through it. All right. Now this is where energy comes in, where you're sending your energy is very important. A lot of these other guys, they're almost pulling back their energy. And what happens is they leave their foot, like I said, again, to do, it's kind of like arm punching in boxing. If you're arm punching, yeah, you're hitting them, but you're not using proper technique, so you're not gonna be hitting them with your full force. Full reach advantage, also reach advantage is going to be diminished because you're just arm punching. And also your arms are going to get way more tired like that because you're not letting your body help you. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. And you can see the difference on all of these. This one actually, this one here was actually not the same as the other ones. This one actually was proper, but as you can see, it's almost like he's scared of kicking so much that he's pulling his body back. His body is in the range of attack, and this is something that I see a lot in UFC. And that's not what this guy over here was doing. Let's see if we could. Should have not taken from here. Let me see. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna catch it anymore. Let's see here. Pretty much he's just putting his weight into it. How long was this? So anyways, yeah, if you like this video, please like. I wish I could show you how I practice sometimes, and show you how you practice safety with your kicks. I'm gonna make another video and showing you personally, myself, how I do it. I'm not the highest kicker, but newsflash, you don't have to kick that high to kick your average human. And even if the person is tall, you don't have to kick them in the head. Sometimes the taller they are, the weaker they are to the legs and to the gut. So if you get them with a good shot to the stomach, or a good shot to the thigh, or even the inner thigh, a lot of those taller people are going to feel a lot more than a shorter guy. A shorter guy usually, not all the time, usually is thicker, right? Has more meat on their bones, and the impact is the meat, the muscles. Like I said before, it's like shock absorbers. Like if you have a truck and they don't have those little shock absorbers on the tires, everything they hit is going to damage the car even more and more. Now and then later, you're going to have problems with other things like the transmission. Everything's going to be jiggling around inside. Now keep that in mind with a human as well. If a human doesn't have muscles to shock absorption for their bones, they're easier to break. And this is part of the reasons why the gladiators and a lot of these ancient soldiers had a diet based around a lot of high carb stuff, stuff like beans, rice, peanuts, this kind of stuff that made you thick. It made you a little bit more thicker. It was also good for cuts. If you have more fat in your bones, around your bones, it's good for cuts as well. But yeah, that's it for today.